Hello everyone, today we have a skincare deep dive into my evening time skincare. My evening time skincare is really where most of the action happens in terms of most active, most aggressive skincare components that I use. Aggressive is a very weird word because I have sensitive skin. There's no aggressive component that I actually will ever pick for myself to use. But in terms of actives, really, I load my evening time with them. In the morning, I use some kind of a toner, some kind of an antioxidant, some kind of a moisturizer, and some kind of a sunscreen. And sometimes sunscreen, a good quality sunscreen, will work as both sunscreen and moisturizer. So for me, morning time is really, really easy and sort of standard. And evening time is where I pack a punch in terms of the actives that I do use. And today I want to give you a very quick overview of what specifically I'm doing right now. For my skin, this doesn't mean that these are the best products, tried and true, holy grails, whatever you want to call it. Right now, these are the things that I'm using, trying out. Some of them I really have a good idea about. Some of them I'm still not sure. And I will specify everything of that concern to you as we're talking about it. So I decided not to include cleansers because cleansers is like a totally separate video, and I really need to talk about cleansers that work for me, but also cleansers that might not work for me but will work for somebody else. What kind of ingredients to look for, what kind of pH to look for, what kind of textures to look for depending on what you want to do with it. It's a whole topic on its own. I have mentioned favorites before in terms of cleansers, and I also decluttered a bunch of cleansers recently with good reviews on why they aren't my favorites. So today we're going to skip that step, pretend that we've already washed and cleansed and we're fresh faced and we're ready to go. And this is kind of the rest of the routine. And you will see there are quite a few pieces of skincare that I have going on. A lot of it is The Ordinary because that's what I'm testing right now. I'm playing with The Ordinary, trying to figure out if the actives are enough because the price point is just so seductive for The Ordinary. And so far I've been fairly impressed. There are a few things that didn't work out for me quite so well, but most of what I've tried is actually very good quality regardless of the price, but especially for the price. So we're all nice and cleansed, nothing on our skin. This is an optional step that I don't always do. The rest of the steps are also 100% optional, and what I do is I vary them, and I'll tell you which ones I combine, which ones I don't combine, but usually I don't do more than one, maximum two, but usually one active at a time, and I just choose whatever my skin needs that need to be met for that particular day are, and then go with whatever needs to be done for that particular day. You don't have to use the same active over and over again. You just, once you get your skin to a situation which you're happy with and you've dealt with the major issues and you're maintaining, you can really address and tailor and tweak your skincare routine to reflect whatever is going on that particular day. You know, you have a blemish, you deal with it. You have dryness, you deal with it. You have eczema, you deal with it. And you have sort of an arsenal of things to apply to these situations, and this is what I have over here. So on cleansed skin, an optional step that I sometimes do, but most times I don't, is masking. I do mask every time I take a bath, which is about once a week. It's my weekend activity. I love baths so much. And I always mask when I'm in the bath. But these are kind of masks that I use to deal with specific issues. So the moisturizing, sort of refreshing mask that I might use if I feel like I'm needing it that day. Currently, the open one I have is this one. This is not my favorite, but it's decent, it's fine, so I am using it up. This is the Body Shop Ethiopian Honey Deep Nourishing Mask. It looks like this. It's a decent nourishing mask. I like anything with honey or propolis. These are ingredients that work super well for my skin, and unless you have sensitivity to those ingredients, they are kind of all things to all people. They're good for all skin types. Also, propolis as well as honey have antibacterial properties, so good for sensitive, inflamed skin or any kind of infection or inflammation, pimples, things like that. It is of that jelly quality. I've used up about a third of it right now. I think it's decent. I do forget to use it though because generally I do the nourishing steps in my skincare routine in my serums. If I have irritation, some kind of maybe blemishes, redness, something that isn't eczema, isn't dry, and the skin barrier is still intact, I will use this night mask. This is the Body Shop Tea Tree Anti-Imperfection Night Mask. So this is kind of like a purifying, very easy tea tree mask that is not drying at all. So tea tree is a sensitizing ingredient and can be irritating for certain skin types. For me, tea tree works okay as long as it's not in high concentration. And you see that this mask is actually more used by me. It's less thick, it's more watery, but I've definitely used a lot more of it. It's about half empty. And I do like to focus it on any areas of imperfection, of irritation, of blemishes. Interesting fact for me, I do have blemishes. Although I have sensitive dry skin, that doesn't mean that you won't have blemishes. It's just the blemishes that we get, dry skin girls, are a little bit different in nature. Oftentimes it's hormonal breakouts, and hormonal breakouts in women tend to focus around the chin area and the jawline. That's if that's where your breakouts are, chances are it's probably a hormonal issue. Combo to oily skin types will get breakouts in T-zone. That has to do with the higher amount of oil glands in that area. Hormonal breakouts really tend to focus around the beard area, let's say. So for me, that is the kind of breakouts that I get. I don't really get a lot going on in the T-zone. I do have dry, sometimes dehydrated skin. That's most of what I'm dealing with. And every once in a while, during your menstrual cycle, you might have those nasties peek out, specifically in this hormonal breakout area. I like to deal with them with the help of something like this, and then if an issue is more pronounced than more than minimal, basically, I will go in with some retinoids, adaptolene gel. I'll show you later. So the other mask, the last one that I have on the go right now, is a clarifying pore cleaning mask, and that's basically, like, you don't have to get fancy with it. Any clay mask does that. Clay masks can be very drying, so for somebody with dry skin like myself, it is important to find a non-drying formula like this one. I'm not specifically promoting this one. This just happens to be the clay mask of choice right now, but there are many of them out there, and some of them have some moisturizing properties which also work very well. This particular one is a little on the pricey side. This is Caudalie Instant Detox Mask, Deep Cleansing Mask. It looks like this. It's nice and pretty, and it works. I like the packaging. I like a lot of what Caudalie does. Caudalie products do tend to agree with my skin, and it's pink clay, so this is what it looks like. I am about probably halfway through this particular one. I don't know whether I'd repurchase though. Like it's a clay mask. It's really not that special. This is a very basic product. This one does not have to be expensive. You shouldn't be spending there if you don't want to be. Then after the mask is washed off and we're nice and fresh again with maybe some intensive treatment that has been done, I go in for sure with some kind of a spray. Currently I use this one. One of my favorites is actually not this one, but this one. I have it in my table as a pre-makeup step. This is the Josh Rosebrook facial mist, and that is probably what I prefer right now the most. This one I'm using up. This was sent to me in PR from Definitive Rose, and it's called Definitive Rose Whole Plant Organics Facial Toner Rose Neroli. Now, facial toner is a good thing, and it can be packed with actives. One of the ways to use a facial toner though, or some kind of a water mist or enhanced water mist, or the Caudalie Beauty Elixir spray, is really as a prep step to make the rest of your skincare sink in easier. So your toner doesn't necessarily have to be packed with full of really active ingredients, but if you do want your toner to be packed with ingredients, then probably don't get a spray toner. This is more for that hydration. Let's put some water on there so that the rest of the ingredients sink in very nicely and easily. I like those, but I also like the active ones. So this one is really easy to use. It's a spray toner. It doesn't have anything fancy in it. Ingredients include water, rose flower distillate, neroli flower distillate, lavender flower distillate, potassium sorbate, rose oil, and jasmine oil. So it's like super basic ingredient deck. If you are sensitive to fragrances, this one doesn't have any added fragrances, but it does have potentially irritating oils, like for instance lavender oil or lavender distillate might have certain parts of lavender oil that can be sensitizing for certain skin. For me, it is not. For me, this is nice and gentle and no problem at all. This doesn't have anything active in it. This is one of those hydrating sprays that you just put on and then you put on the rest, pack in the rest of the skincare on top of it. I always have one of those kinds of sprays on the go because the rest of your skincare is just more effectively delivered. This is the delivery helper, so to say. Then we're going to talk about a few categories of molecules that will do different things. So let's start with acids, because the next toner that I'll talk about is an acid toner. That is an exfoliant. Acids generally are just a name for a category of molecules. It does not mean that every acid is exfoliating. For example, hyaluronic acid is a humectant and a hydrator, whereas AHA or BHA acids are exfoliants, and they will do different things. BHAs are better for combination skin, oily skin, skin prone to breakouts, because it also will be keratolytic, meaning that it'll dissolve some of the skin that plugs the pores. You want that if that's a problem that you're facing. AHAs are better for somebody like me with sensitive dry skin. That's basically like a chemical exfoliant that'll eat up the dead cells and reveal the more glowy baby skin underneath. That's the purpose of those acids. And it's a very mechanical, lovely process. You should choose, if you are of my skin type, either glycolic or lactic acid. My favorite is probably lactic acid. Glycolic acid can be a little easier to come by, but these work best for sensitive dry skin. Go with something like salicylic acid. If your skin is maybe oily to combo and you do suffer from comedogenesis, so formation of closed or open comedones, black or white heads, basically. So for me, this is my glycolic acid. This is a glycolic toner from The Ordinary. This is pretty potent. This is a 7% solution. I do believe they carry a 5%. If I was to repurchase, I'd probably buy the 5%. I always tend to go for the most potent thing, and then as I need it, I dilute it down or apply less, basically to dose it down. This works fine for me, but I probably should go down to 5% if they offer that. I need to check. This is pH 3.6. It's very acidic. Acidic toners are really excellent, as well as acidic cleansers, because they do prepare the skin for receiving skincare, for soaking up all the actives that are going to be put on after it. So this is excellent as a prep step, also excellent as an exfoliant. Don't layer your exfoliants. Choose one thing that you do for your chemical exfoliation. Please don't pile salicylic acid with lactic acid. Watch what is in your ingredients. Like Ordinary will have very basic ingredients, so it's very easy to know and not to overdo things. Like, what exactly are you trying to achieve with your skincare? Certain fancier brands will have complex formulations, so it's harder sometimes to know what you should or shouldn't layer with each other. So pay attention to the ingredients. Don't put an exfoliant on top of an exfoliant. Don't do a peel and then an acid toner. It's just going to make your skin angry, and then you're going to be surprised why the scientific approach to your skincare is not working, because you're getting all that stuff that people tell you is good, and then it doesn't work, or your skin ends up irritated, dehydrated, flaky, whatever. That might be that you're doing too much. Scale back, guys. Pay attention to the ingredients, know what you're doing, and know which ingredients do what. Don't layer ingredients of the same type. Don't ever layer ingredients that are potentially irritating with each other. Don't do an acid with a retinoid. Don't do that. Scale back, step back, do one thing at a time, and your skin is going to be much happier. You're going to have much better results if you don't go ham with your skincare. Back off. and choose what it is that you're doing, be intentional with the skincare. So glycolic acid, 7% from The Ordinary, is a great option and very budget. And this is good for also anti-aging, but this is a brightening sort of molecule. This is alpha lipoic acid. I have it in 5% concentration, also from The Ordinary. I haven't played with it enough, so this one I'll have to report back. This is pretty new to me. I'm not quite ready to talk about the efficacy quite yet. Next we have, this one. This one is a product from The Ordinary. Like I said, I'm trying out a lot of The Ordinary right now, and I'm trying to figure out what are the most worthwhile parts of their lineup. This is alpha arbutin, 2% with hyaluronic acid. So this is going to be good for those of you guys who are battling with hyperpigmentation. There are certain molecules that do have scientific backing to have been presented as something excellent for fading the the dark marks, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, any other hyperpigmentation, melasma, etc. Alpha arbutin is one of those molecules. It does work for dealing with hyperpigmentation. Another big one that is very popular and is in a lot of skincare, it's coenzyme Q10. Generally, any antioxidant is going to be helpful, but there are also molecules like this one that will be a melanocyte suppressant. So they will stop or slow down the melanocytes from producing melanin, which is the pigment which is giving you hyperpigmentation. So those cells, their action is just sort of chilled out and slowed down, so the hyperpigmentation doesn't cycle on and on. That's how it fades it. You also want exfoliation. You also want anti-oxidization for dealing with hyperpigmentation. This is a very specific molecule that will deal with hyperpigmentation, though it does its own thing. How I deal with hyperpigmentation is usually some acids, exfoliants, and melanocyte suppression. This is sitting in a decent amount of hyaluronic acid as well, so it's quite hydrating if you do add moisture to your environment. So sometimes I would put my sort of moisturizing spray on, then I would put this as my active molecule, or at least on parts of my face which I want to really work on. I will spot treat with this, and then I might even, because it's hyaluronic acid based, anytime you see skincare products with lots of hyaluronic acid, I might take this and again put another layer of moisture so that there is moisture to be drawn into the skin. The problem with hyaluronic acid, of course, is that it does not care where it's drawing moisture from and where it's delivering it. So if it's huge molecules and they're left sort of sitting on the top layers of your skin and there's not enough hydration around, so they can't swell up and hold this moisture, they're going to draw moisture from the surrounding tissue, which is counterproductive and the opposite of what you want. So you want to provide lots of moisture, surface moisture, after the application, before and after the application of hyaluronic acid, so that the hyaluronic acid has a chance to work. Hyaluronic acid might not be the best bet for you if you are in a very dry climate and you're not doing all this spraying of your face all the time. You might look at humectants, different humectants, maybe like glycerin or something like that, as your main hydrator. In that case, hyaluronic acid might work against you. So alpha arbutin with hyaluronic acid for me has been working. I will report back once I run out of it. The last peel that I wanted to talk about, or the last exfoliant that I wanted to talk about, is a slightly different way to exfoliate. Here, this category is represented by Kiehl's Overnight Biological Peel. Kiehl's is a very, very decent choice for skincare. It's the North American answer to French skincare brands, and I think they do really good formulation. This particular one is one of my absolute favorites from their lineup, and this is Overnight Biological Peel with hydrating sodium hyaluronate. It does have some sort of chemical exfoliants, so acids that will chemically slough off that dead skin, and also has some enzymes that will biologically slough off some of the dead skin. So this is as opposed to chemical exfoliants, is an enzymatic exfoliant, and those are excellent as well. You just need to find ones that really work well for your skin. This one is the one I really, really recommend. As you can see, if you can see here, there is absolutely not a lot left, and it is a repurchasable product for me. Actually, I will probably buy it again because I did enjoy it that much. It's one of those really good enzyme peels, but it's extremely gentle. It has a lot of slip to it, and it does have that hyaluronic acid, so my skin is actually quite plumped up up after I wear it overnight. One of really, really big recommendations from me to you guys. Okay, let's reach into here. I already mentioned as retinoids, as far as retinoids go, we have the different gel. I have adaptolin 0.1%. This is pretty weak, to be fair. In the States it's sold over the counter. In Canada it is not. It is a prescription. This is like a weak potency to mid potency topical retinoid in gel form, and I use that to deal with my chin issues whenever they pop up. You can use it on your entire face. You can use it however you want. This is a nice retinoid. Retinoids are rather drying, so you have to be careful with using retinoids. You have to moisturize, protect your skin from the sun when you do that. So winter is actually an ideal time to bump up your retinoid skincare regime. The other retinoid that I have here as a dry skinned person, this gel thing, adaptolene, I really prefer to use as a spot treatment, and this is the one that I use regularly as basically an application of a weak retinoid. This is a very weak retinoid. Over-the-counter retinoids do tend to be on the weak side, so anything you buy over-the-counter is really not going to be super potent. You do need to go to your doctor or your dermatologist for a prescription of a potent retinoid, but you might want to work up to it because your skin does need to get used to this fairly aggressive vitamin A molecule. So this particular one is the one from The Ordinary. It's 1% retinol in squalene. I do like it when they put retinoids into an oily or moisturizing base. First of all, if it's in an oily base, it's far more stable. It stabilizes the retinoid a little bit more. And the other part is, of course, when it's in the hydrating or moisturizing base, it's better because it's delivering extra moisturization with the application of the retinoid. This is decent. I do like the one they used to sell in Canada, which was high potency retinoid, but that was one of the precursors that then gets converted into a retinol in your skin. I did like it a lot. The texture was really great. It wasn't in an oil. It wasn't a very moisturizing, slightly jelly texture. I really enjoyed it. They don't no longer sell it in Canada. They do sell it in the States. So I think I would recommend that other one, the high potency one. They might have renamed it. This is 1% squalene. This is decent. This is good for very, very basic skincare needs, for non-problematic skin, dry skin. So for me, it's like a really decent option. This is something you don't really need in your routine at all. So eye creams. Let's talk about eye creams. Companies will sell you tiny tubes of eye creams that aren't super expensive to make, that are basically face creams with a little bit lighter or a little bit more concentrated texture. They're not all that different from any kind of face cream that you will find. They just want more of your money. This particular one is actually a pricey one. This is an eye mask, and that's kind of why I bought it. I wanted something quite nourishing overnight, but this is from Doowown. You know, I love Doowown. This is a very, very much a favorite, indulgent, luxurious brand, whereas The Ordinary, Kiehl's, like those guys are very workhorse and effective. Here, this is a bit of an indulgent step. Do not ever feel like you have to spend a lot of money on an eye cream. They are not worth it. Everything your eye cream can do, your face cream can do, unless you have something called milia, in which case you do need something of a lighter texture basically under your eyes to prevent the pores from being clogged. But not everybody develops milia. I mostly forget to use this because I use my face cream under my eyes as well. Like I said, don't believe when people try to sell you expensive eye creams that do magic. They don't. They never do. Anything that is in an eye cream can be in a face cream. Just buy a good face cream that works for you for everything. It's fine. It's fine. We don't need to go nuts with like a million little bottles. We already have a lot of action going on here. Now we're nearing the end. Let's go towards face oils. I have two here, one in a mini, one in a full-size bottle. Face oils are totally a video on its own. There are so many different kinds of face oils. There are different textures and different ingredients that are better for certain skin types. Here, I'm very happy to report this is going to work for everyone because it's a very basic, very very old things to old people kind of oils, so this is a good one actually to have in that kind of a video as a recommendation to any skin type. However, there are specific oils that are good for specific skin types, and maybe one day I'll film a video really detailing those, but right now that would just be way too long. It's already going to be too long. So what to look for in oils: you want clean oils. If you want oil blends, you definitely don't want any filler oils there, or carrier oils as they talk about them. If you are thinking about a carrier oil, jojoba or almond probably works best, but jojoba is far superior because the molecular structure of it is fairly bioidentical, which means it's pretty close in its configuration, size, and the way that it functions in your skin to the sebum produced by your own skin. So jojoba oil is a great moisturizer, very balancing, easy, works well for everyone. Jojoba oil is a good base for oil, probably the best I can think of. Other than that, if it's not a jojoba oil base, maybe certain others will work for you. Again, specific videos need to be made about efficacy of specific oils for specific skin types. Oh my goodness, how long am I going to harp on that? But certain oils though are very good for all skin types. Sea buckthorn, rose hip, which is what I have here. This is one of my favorite oils. I mean, carrot seed oil, camellia oil, those are pretty universally well tolerated and will work well for you. I have to tell you, if the oil is super cheap, unless it's from a brand that you know produces high quality oils for a low price, like The Ordinary, they have decent oils for not that much money. But if you're buying a luxury oil, please watch the ingredients. Nothing wrong with inexpensive oils with good composition, but pay attention to the quality of your oils. Cruder, later extractions, I mean, they don't do as well. So if it's cheap and it is suspect how cheap it is, maybe I would give it a double look. So what are you looking for? You're looking for pure cold pressed, if possible, organic oils, but organic part is not as important as the cold pressed part. So definitely look for cold press, which means that's the first press without heating the product and extracting those oils further. So first press is the best quality that you can get out of any oil, basically. And then subsequent presses will be cheaper, crappier oils. Basically, I don't know. This is a very crude way of explaining it, but this is how it works. You want the premium, the top quality, the first press, the cold press of any oil that you're buying. If it's not cold pressed, or if it has carrier crap in it, don't bother. It's not going to do much for you. The one I have is a rosehip oil. This is one of my preferred oils. I really like rosehip oil. I really like carrot oil. And this is actually quite excellent, clean, beauty approved. And this is Pi Rosehip Bioregenerate Oil. I almost said biodegenerate oil. Well. So bioregenerate oil, I'm sorry. This is a 30 ml bottle. It's very cute. If you're looking at certain oils, for example, carrot or rosehip oils, you are looking for those flavonoids. You're looking for color. So rosehip oil is generally not translucent. If it's colorless, it's probably not cold pressed. You do want a little bit of that color to peek through. That is the color that rosehip oil is supposed to be, just for your information. This particular one is vegan, organic certified, Leaping Bunny certified. It's made in the UK. This is actually excellent quality, excellent quality rosehip oil, but there are tons of them out there. I'm not saying buy this one. I'm just saying pay attention to the quality of the oils you get. Unfortunately, it's very easy to buy really crappy quality, thinking you're getting a deal. You're not getting a deal. You're getting just no benefits. That's what you're getting. And the other one is a mini that I really actually have been enjoying and I've been using for a while. There's not that much left in there, you can see. I probably have a couple of weeks left because you only need the smallest, tiniest amount. You need like a couple of drops basically to cover your face, and this is Chi Face, Ginger Chi Face Regenerating Serum. So this is an oil serum kind of thing. I am impressed with it actually. I don't know if I'm impressed enough to repurchase it because I do have so many oils to try. I do have sort of a backstash of things that are just waiting to be used. This one, however, I really enjoyed, and this one has rice bran oil, which I've never tried before, so I will look into why rice bran is a good oil for my skin type. It clearly is, because I'm really enjoying it, but it is apparently a good carrier oil for me. Then we have camellia seed oil, fractionated coconut oil, so if you're staying away from that, I guess that's a deal breaker potentially. Then you have jojoba, evening primrose, rose hip, geranium, rosemary, frankincense. There is lavender flower oil, which can be a sensitizer, so it's not good for everyone. It's okay if you tolerate it. My skin tolerates it okay in small amounts. If you do have very sensitive skin that is sensitive to specifically lavender oils, pay attention and avoid them in your skincare. And then you have fresh ginger root oil and carrot seed oil. Carrot seed oil is another one of my favorites, but that's the last ingredient here. There's not much of it here. So I do like this one. Basically, what this tells me is that I need to look into the rice bran oil. It might be a new discovery for me. I don't really think I've read a lot about rice bran oil, but I'll look into it. Okay, let's talk about the last piece of the skincare regime. What do I do in the very end? Moisturizer, of course. Moisturizer, I only have one that I'm using right now, and usually I have one at a time that I'm using. And the texture of it varies, not of that moisturizer, but the one I pull for would vary with seasons. I have no adherence or any particular preference for a moisturizer. I'm looking for basically decent ingredients and a specific texture. For winter months, as it is right now, I need a greasy, very nourishing cream. And if you have a different skin type to mine, you might want something lighter. So I don't want anything gel. I don't want anything lightweight. That's not what I'm looking for. I am looking for something super hydrating, super nourishing, and super greasy. I want to wake up with some skincare left on my face. I want to feel like if I was to smear my hands across my face, I would still massage some of that skincare in the morning, after the night when I applied it. So that means that what I'm recommending here is a sealant to seal in all of your skincare that we just applied, depending on the day, and letting it all sink in overnight. So that's what we're doing. Depending on your skin type, you will pick whichever texture works best for you. For me, in wintertime, I want greasy. In summertime, I want something a little lighter. I'm almost never using gel moisturizers. My skin is that dry. So currently, I'm using this one, and I really enjoy it. What I don't enjoy about it is, of course, that it is unfortunately in the pot format, which I don't like. I don't like pot based moisturizers. This is really gorgeous. Another clean skincare company that is doing excellent work. As you can see, the name of the company is OY-L face cream. We have 2.5 ounces in here, so that's a pretty decent amount. It has no parabens, no phthalates, no hormone disruptors, no color, no formaldehyde, preservatives, mineral oils, polyethylene glycol, propylene glycol, sodium lauryl sulfate, triclosan, talc, or petroleum. So really excellent, basically oil-based ingredients, whipped texture, lightweight whipped texture, but super nourishing. I do recommend it. I mean, it's an excellent cream. Again, this is what the brand looks like, OY-L. I think it's a bit pricey for what it offers, because if you're trying to do good skincare on a budget, I would direct you towards something like CeraVe Night Cream, maybe Aquaphor, something nourishing, very simple, full of ceramides potentially, or peptides, and just something very simple. Now, if you are somebody who doesn't have this intricate collection of things that work for different times and layer differently and address a specific need of your skin on that specific day, if you want to simplify and not do that, I think that's very simple, because at any given time I'm using 1, maximum 2 actives, no more. So I actually don't have a ton of steps to go through every day. It's just I really ratify the steps with the skin concerns that I have on that particular day. And unless your moisturizer is basically the only step in your skincare routine, it doesn't quite so much matter what is in it, as long as nothing bad is in it and as long as it's the right texture for your skin type. Moisturizer is the least important skincare step. It's only important if you don't do anything else. If you do all the things that I'm doing in appropriate sequential order, and you're paying attention and monitoring what your skin is doing and adjusting what you're doing to it, you will find that moisturizer is really not that important. It's important to do that step, but it's not important which one you're choosing, and it should be pretty plain, because your skin can only take so much in terms of actives, and if you're packing it with actives in every other way like I do, then the skin moisturization step or the night mask step or whatever, overnight mask step, whichever one you're doing depending on your skin type, is going to not really penetrate as well. Your skin is going to be saturated. It's not going to be able to take it. It's like a sponge. Once the sponge is wet all the way, you can't really push any more moisture into it. The same way you can't really push actives in a moisturizer if you're doing all the rest of it as well. So for me, a moisturizer is not something I'm ever loyal to, because I don't really care what it is as long as it's the right texture and it doesn't have the yuckies in it. If moisturizer is the only step that you're doing, you cleanse and you moisturize, always do that at least, then maybe it makes sense to get something quite fancy, packed with actives, expensive for your moisturizer. But unless you're that person who only does one step after cleansing, which is your moisturizer, it's a bad idea to waste your money on very expensive, very packed full of actives moisturizer when you don't really need it, and it won't really work anyway because you've already done serums and essences and toners and the rest of it. And the last moisturizer that I wanted to talk about is the lightweight moisturizer that sometimes I like to pile on to areas of eczema, areas of irritation, and also to my lips. Before I put on a thick lip balm, which for me is always Rêve de Miel by Nuxe, I do like to have this on as well. A friend of mine turned me onto it. It's really plain and boring, which is why I haven't looked at it before when I was shopping at The Ordinary, but this is The Ordinary Natural Moisturizing Factors plus Hyaluronic Acid. Very basic, very clean moisturizer in terms of its ingredients, pretty minimal, which is what we want when it comes to skincare. So if I want a boost of hyaluronic acid in a gel-like lightweight texture, I go for this, and I layer it as an extra skincare step. I use it on my hands, I use it on my face, I use it on my lips. Like, this is a true multitasker, and I'm very grateful to Mila for introducing me to it. She was the one who told me, like, yeah, that is one of those good hyaluronic acid do-gooders that you can just include in any step of your skincare routine, really, and it is never going to be too much, and it's never going to do something to make things worse. So this one is really great, and I'll be buying it in larger sizes. This is actually halfway done. This is only a 30 ml because I wanted to see how it works for me, and it works great. So I will actually be purchasing this in a big size. This is the small size, taking it as hand treatments, as like whatever treatments, and using it on the go as well. I really appreciate that it is in this squeezy tube format. Easy to use, portable, like excellent design of the formula and excellent design of the packaging. I love the simplicity of this. This is great. So that's what I'm doing for my skincare right now. Like I said, there are a couple of things that I'm still not sure about. There are a couple molecules I'm really a big fan of, and I mentioned those. I will update you on what's going on with the rest of the skincare. I do stick pretty well to the categories that I've described. So something exfoliating, something anti-aging, something anti-hyperpigmentation, something moisturizing, hydrating, and a good oil. Those are basically the categories that I stick by, and that's what I do. Mostly the antioxidant step is the step that I save for the morning. I use antioxidant before I use my sunscreen, so I have vitamin C and pictogenol right now that I'm using as my antioxidant steps. So I don't actually antioxidate specifically at night. At night, I prefer to either exfoliate or add a retinoid, because retinoid in the morning is a bad idea. Don't do that. Retinol, or any retinoids, I should say, are sun sensitizing, which means you cannot have sun exposure without having irritation if you're doing a retinoid routine. Do it at night, do it more in the winter, so the less sun around retinoids, the better. And antioxidants, though, are a great step to do in the morning. There's not really a better time to do antioxidants, as you do pack your skin full of antioxidants before the day of oxidation, which is going to be sun, which is going to be pollution, which is going to be stress. Pack it up with antioxidants before all that happens that particular day. I feel like that was such a long video. I'm tired of talking. That's it for today. Tell me if you have any specific ingredients or products that are your absolute holy grails that do wonders for your skin. And also, please, with that, leave the skin concerns and the skin type, because it's very important to talk about which kind of concern or which kind of skin type that particular product works for. It might be good for some and really terrible for others for that very reason. So if you're leaving it down below, please do include those details. That will be the most useful for all parties involved. That's it for today. See you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Good luck to you and all the best. Bye bye.